Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Colonel Isabel Geiger, and I would like to welcome you to this virtual deactivation ceremony and thank you for choosing to spend a portion of your day honoring a military tradition and paying tribute to an organization and its people that have served this great nation. Today we will observe the deactivation of the Joint Contingency Acquisition Support Office. We will begin with the playing of the national anthem. On 10 June 2006, Mr. Jack Bell, the then Deputy Undersecretary of Defense for Logistics and Material Readiness, signed the memorandum to the Secretaries of the Services, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the Undersecretaries of Defense, and combatant commanders, thus establishing the Joint Contingency Acquisition Support Office. This memorandum read, in part, to comply with the Secretary of Defense's guidance for development of the force, fiscal years 2010 through 2015, and congressional mandates in NDAA 2007 and NDAA 2008, an organization is being established to orchestrate, synchronize, and integrate program management of contingency acquisition across combatant commands and United States government agencies during combat operations, post-conflict operations, and contingency operations. The new organization will be called the Joint Contingency Acquisition Support Office, JCASO, and has an initial operational capability of fiscal year 2009. We will now hear remarks from Major General Alan Day, Mr. Gary Motzik, Rear Admiral Ron McLaren, Mr. Matthew Beebe, and Mr. Patrick Doolin.
Hello, my name is Alan Day, and I'm the Director of Logistics Operations here at the Defense Logistics Agency. While the deactivation of any organization is a time for reflection, I am so proud to be a part of this celebration of the Joint Contingency Acquisition Support Office's many awesome accomplishments over the last 11 years. JCASO was born out of a real need to orchestrate, synchronize, and integrate program management of contingency acquisition across combatant commands and government agencies during combat, post-conflict, and contingency operations, according to the memo that established it. And the men and women who took on that critical mission have done an excellent job. But that mission wasn't supposed to last forever. JCASO was always meant to be a temporary joint enabling capability, and now it's time to turn this mission over to the warfighters who exercise it. Today, I want to recognize the great leaders who shepherded this organization over the years. Rear Admiral Ron McLaren, JCASO's first commander who set it up for success early. Mr. Matt Beebe, the organization's first deputy and now DLA's Director of Acquisition. And finally, Mr. Pat Doolin, who led JCASO to continued excellence all the way to here and now. These three gentlemen set a high standard for the team they led, and the JCASO team answered the challenge. To the men and women, past and present, who've executed this mission, I want to say, job well done. It wasn't always easy, but your hard work and dedication helped improve the management and oversight of operational contract support and enhance the tracking and accountability for contractor personnel in conflict, contingency, and relief operations around the globe. You've ensured our warfighters had what they needed in Iraq and Afghanistan and played a critical role in the 2014 fight against Ebola in West Africa and alleviating human suffering in multiple disaster responses. Your work mattered. While doing all of that, JCASO planners embedded across the combatant commands have helped gain a greater appreciation and understanding of your role. Of course, this establishment of an organization brings change, particularly to the lives and careers of the most important asset, the people. Here at DLA headquarters and all over the world, the commands JCASO supports, our people are facing uncertain times as this mission winds down. I want to ensure each and every one of you that Pat Doolin and the rest of DLA leadership are doing everything we can to find new ways to capitalize on your talents. And I want to finish off by thanking all the men and women, uniformed and civilian, who have served in JCASO's ranks over the past 11 years. You've all exhibited motivation, dedication, and grit across multiple operations, contingencies, and exercises. While it is indeed time for reflection, I am confident the JCASO team can reflect on people helped, missions accomplished, and lives saved. You've all done an awesome job, and I'm certain you'll do more in the future. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Gary Motsick, the former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense, and I want to thank both the President and past staff of the JCASO for their excellent job in supporting the defense of our nation. That organization was established out of a crisis. Congress was absolutely apoplectic about the lack of oversight, management, control of our contractors and our contingency operations. Fraud was fairly abusive. They passed a law known as Section 854 of the NDAA that directed us to get our hands around this problem. DOD dutifully reviewed the numbers and came up with a requirement of over 300 personnel across DOD to manage the contractors in the battle space. And remember, at this time, there were more contractors than there were military members in our contingency operations. That number was unaffordable. In its place, they created the JCASO, effectively an economy of force staff, who had two strategic missions at that time. One, to be an expert cadre that could be deployed as necessary to provide immediate oversight, management, and support of contractors in a contingency to any combatant commander. And then number two, to train combatant command staffs on the management of contractors in their area of operations. In both cases, you've done an excellent job, and we thank you. Much of what you have trained people to do and built in your organization has been transferred to the staff colleges, senior staff colleges for education. OCS is now part of Joint Professional Military Education, and you had your fingers in all of that. Perhaps the two best examples of your legacy were, number one, the Ebola crisis, where AFRICOM, a command that was not involved in the contingencies but had been engaged with you, was able to respond with their contractor package to Africa during that crisis in dramatic fashion. And more recently, number two, during the COVID crisis, people who have worked with you, primarily National Guardsmen, who experienced your staffing and your leadership overseas, applied those same principles to their domestic contingencies in their respective states and managing fundamentally a new program for them of multiple contractors performing actions that they normally did not ever envision. So on behalf of DOD, all of your counterparts, and all the people who work for you, all I can say is you done good. Thank you.
JCASO, past and present. I am Rear Admiral Ron McLaren, retired, and I have had the honor and privilege of working with some really smart people in introducing and institutionalizing operational contract support across our armed forces. The task was not easy. There were many paradigms to shift. But you, all of you of JCASO, pressed on and continued the message while providing tools and training to the services to understand OCS and why it was so important. I am very proud of not only the achievements of making OCS doctrine within the services, but also the other missions that JCASO took on at the very same time. JCASO was there when Ebola hit Africa. JCASO Expeditionary Contracting was there supporting the local economies while providing what our medical and support teams needed. The success of the Ebola mission would not have been possible without JCASO. The disestablishment of this office is testament of the fantastic job that you did. I remember telling the JCASO staff when I was their director that their mission was to do so well that JCASO would not be necessary. Because if the services and the COCOMs got it, there would not be a need to have a JCASO. And not to fear about losing your job because your stock would soar with the stellar reputation that you have earned. You should be very proud. I am very proud of all of you. Bravo Zulu, JCASO.
It is with mixed emotions that I make a few remarks today. First, I am very proud to have been part of JCASO in the early years, as the mission was being formed. Starting with support to the humanitarian relief efforts in Haiti after the earthquake of 2010, through to the more recent actions in Southwest Asia and on the home front, most recently supporting the COVID fight, there has always been mission success. JCASO's deployments to Iraq, Afghanistan, and other contingency areas to establish operational contract support integration cells brought OCS forward from theory to practice. Leading the OCS whole-of-government efforts for CENTCOM and EUCOM helped local companies compete for and win DoD contracts in countries on both ends of the Northern Distribution Network, in Europe and Asia to Afghanistan. This not only helped those countries develop business capabilities, it furthered goodwill that was needed to ensure U.S. access to the network and resources. And while the OCS mission continues for the department, it is now wholly in the hands of the services and DLA to continue honing our OCS policies, planning, and skills. To the men and women of JCASO over the years, thanks for showing us how. It's been rewarding and fun. Thank you, and job well done.
Howdy, I'm Pat Doolin, the former Executive Director for the Joint Contingency Acquisition Support Office, or as we pronounce it, JCASO. I'd like to thank you for viewing our JCASO Deactivation Ceremony video today. The purpose of this deactivation ceremony is to congratulate the JCASO team on mission success and a job very well done. The deactivation of an organization is both nostalgic, recalling the unit's victories and its challenges, but also bittersweet. Sweet in the pride that the team met the objective in spite of all obstacles, but also a tad bit bitter with the sadly sentimental parting of stalwart comrades to take on new missions. So let me focus a bit on the nostalgic, remembering the trials and triumphs of JCASO. Born from adversity, JCASO was the outgrowth of the Commission on Wartime Contracting that examined the failures and shortfalls in DoD's use of contracted support during the early years of the conflicts in Afghanistan and Iraq. Now, JCASO was established as a joint enabling capability to hone the warfighting commander's use of the innovative contracted capabilities available, such as contracted reconnaissance drones, and wield such full, awesome array of contract support as the true warfighting multipliers via the doctrine and processes of operational contract support, or OCS in short. At the strategic level, JCASO assisted the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the Office of the Secretary of Defense, and the Uniformed Service Staffs in formulating doctrine and meeting congressional mandates for progress on OCS. JCASO was everywhere. It was a key player in the establishment and continuing refinement of OCS doctrine in Joint Publication 4-10. JCASO was also at the forefront in embedding OCS principles in over 120 joint exercises. JCASO continually assisted the services through mobile training teams and the OCS Tutor program, all of which helped create the unrelenting and irresistible impetus toward OCS strategic alignment across DoD. Similarly, at the operational level, JCASO was deeply embedded with all the geographic combatant commanders and the Special Operations Command. Many examples of combatant commander and JCASO OCS success abound, because without combatant commander success, there was no JCASO success. So let me highlight just a few of those triumphs. In 2016, a true warfighter, the Combined Joint Task Force Operation Iraqi Resolve Deputy Commander for Support, Major General Chambers, made the case to DoD senior officials that the mission to eradicate ISIS from Southwest Asia was empowered by the OCS Joint Enabling Capability. While the Iraqi armed forces actually kicked the doors down in city and village-by-village sweeps, OCS-crafted contracted support provided the true logistics sustainment capabilities that allow the Iraqi forces to advance to the Syrian border and liberate Iraq from this malign force. From 2010 to 2020, multiple deployments of JCASO personnel to Afghanistan sowed the seeds of OCS success, both in terms of very operationally effective, agile contracts, such as the National Maintenance Strategy contract for Afghan forces, but also in crafting enduring OCS tools, such as the U.S. Force Afghanistan's OCS Integration Cell, or as we lovingly know it, the OCSIC. Of particular pride is how well both that National Maintenance Strategy contract and the U.S. Forces Afghanistan OCSIC performed now in assisting Operation Resolute support during the ongoing COVID-19 crisis. But while JCASO always remained hyper-focused on enabling and growing OCS capability, it was also ready and adaptive to perform any mission called upon to support DoD. So when, in 2010, CENTCOM and TRANSCOM needed DLA to mature Central Asian state support for the critical Northern Distribution Network supply route into Afghanistan, JCASO responded. This response came in the form of multiple deployments to such countries as Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Turkmenistan to identify and promote contracting opportunities within these countries to cement support for that critical operational Northern Distribution Network. So what then is the legacy of JCASO as its chapter ends in the never-ending story of our nation's defense? It is a legacy of tough hombres, ready to deploy into harm's way at a moment's notice. In fact, JCASO teams and individuals deployed more than 250 times during its proud history. But its legacy is more than being tough, smart, and responsive. JCASO, like Fremont in the opening of the West, pioneered and mapped out the paths for OCS to surge forward in DoD. To these women and men of JCASO that are the unsung heroes and the pioneering trailblazers of OCS, I thank you. DLA thanks you. And future generations of warfighters will thank you for this heritage of OCS skills and competency.
As you've heard, over the last 10 plus years, JCASO has been an integral part of enabling the Department of Defense's role in expanding and integrating commercial support to operations across the globe. Through countless real-world events and exercises, from plans to practice, JCASO has enabled everyone from the common user to the 3-star, from combatant commands, the Joint Task Forces, Joint Force Land Component Commanders, service components or operational contract support integration cells in the war zone. From Afghanistan to Poland, from Qatar to Korea, JCASO's members and embedded planners have answered the call and made it a personal mission to leave the foxhole better than they found it, leaving behind more highly trained and operational capable staffs and teams and more comprehensive plans and processes. JCASO now passes the execution of these tasks to the combatant commands and services. Thus, in accordance with the 2019 Defense-wide Review, and in accordance with the guidance of the Secretary of Defense, the Defense Logistics Agency Joint Contingency Acquisition Office is hereby officially deactivated as of 1 October 2020. At this time, Mr. Patrick Doolin, J32 Executive Director, and Mr. Matthew Beebe, J32 Executive Director from 2010 until 2012, will retire the Joint Contingency Acquisition Support Office emblem. Thank you, Mr. Doolin and Mr. Beebe. Ladies and gentlemen, this completes our ceremony today and officially marks the closure of the DLA Joint Contingency Acquisition Support Office. A commemorative plaque will hang in the DLA headquarters complex to recognize the accomplishments of all the JCASO military and civilian members past and present. Thank you all for watching this video tribute to the men and women of JCASO, and have a wonderful day.